At first glance, Sir Ed Davies' call to rejoin the new customs union with the European Union, it seems like a mere economic adjustment, but it carries profound implications for Britain's prosperity, its global standing, its ability to navigate an increasingly volatile global landscape, not least with Donald Trump returning to the White House. Since Brexit, the UK has struggled with trade barriers that were once mere formalities, and the loss of seamless trade with our largest trading partner, the EU, has cost businesses time and money, particularly small and medium enterprises that cannot absorb the administrative burden. And that burden was made all the worse by the dithering of Theresa May, by the bombast of Boris Johnson, and the absurdity and the ridiculous negotiations carried out by Lord Frost. Official figures reveal that 42% of UK exports and 52% of imports were tied to the EU in 2023. Yet tariffs, rules of origin checks and logistical delays have turned the dream of post-Brexit sovereignty into an economic slog. And so Ed Davies' vision of a bilateral customs union is pragmatic, not ideological. It would eliminate tariffs, simply cross-border trade would be better, and confidence would be restored among exporters. Crucially, it would address the friction in Northern Ireland by reducing the barriers that have fueled ongoing political tension. The timing of this policy is critical, and Donald Trump's imminent return to the White House introduces uncertainty to global trade, and that uncertainty needs to be challenged because we've had so much uncertainty from a business point of view. Uncertainty over Brexit, uncertainty because of COVID, uncertainty because of Liz Truss, and then uncertainty because of a change in government. And it's essential that now Trump is coming in with more uncertainty. His admission, likely to target the EU with fresh tariffs, could leave the UK caught between two giants. And Sir Ed Davey warns against the folly of begging Trump for trade scraps, as Kemi Badenoch and Nigel Farage seem inclined to do. Instead, he advocates strengthening ties with Europe to deal with Trump from a position of strength. And the logic is compelling. Standing united with the EU amplifies the UK's negotiating power in a trade war-prone world. And it's important that we get our business relationship right, because this the environment we're sitting in is an environment which is deeply shattered by war on our doorstep. To embark on a trade war at the same time with America is folly, particularly when we can ensure that our trading relationship with Europe, which has been tested, can be revived and rekindled, and we can have confidence in something which is on our doorstep. Critics would argue that a customs union limits Britain's ability to strike independent trade deals, but as Sir Ed Davies astutely points out, the much-touted post-Brexit agreements with countries like Australia and Japan have yielded meagre returns. The US and India remain elusive, and China has put negotiations on pause. And meanwhile, the EU remains Britain's most significant trade partner. 6 years after Brexit, we're still in a mess. Labour's reluctance to embrace this proposal is puzzling. I don't understand. And it's not the first time this has been put forward. The Welsh put it forward about 2 weeks ago. The Prime Minister has championed a reset with the EU, but stopped short of bold measures like a customs union. A customs union is not just economic common sense, it's a global necessity. And it also shows a commitment to Europe, which I think would stand in our favour when we eventually come round to recognising we have to rejoin Europe. Negotiating a customs union could rekindle trust between London and Brussels, laying the groundwork for a broader cooperation in areas like transport, state aid, environmental policy, and by smoothing trade relations, the UK and the EU could jointly tackle challenges like supply chain resilience and climate change. Additionally, a customs union would be particularly beneficial for Northern Ireland, where trade has been disrupted by Brexit. Simplifying these arrangements could help stabilise a region that continues to experience political turbulence. So we shouldn't be naive. This policy will face opposition, and hardline Brexiteers will decry it as a betrayal of sovereignty, and Labour may resist being outflanked by the Lib Dems on Europe. But rejoining the customs union, even if it means accepting EU tariffs on goods from third countries and aligning trade policies, this is better than what we've got now. The benefits outweigh the costs. Public sentiment is shifting, with 49% of Britons supporting closer ties with the EU compared to 35% who wish to remain apart. Voters increasingly recognise the economic harm wrought by Brexit, with average incomes nearly £2,000 lower in 2023 because of trade barriers that were introduced by Brexit. Sir Ed Davies' call for a new customs union is not just a step towards economic recovery, but a vision of Britain as a cooperative and strategically savvy player on a global stage. And while the government dithers and Labour hedges, the Liberal Dems are offering a path forward, a path that acknowledges the interconnectedness of modern trade and the necessity of standing firm in the face of global insecurity. And if Kemi Badenoch can't see that, and if Farage wants to defy that, that's their affair. They are irrelevant. As we face the dual challenge of Trump's protectionist presidency and the EU's continued economic power, Britain needs to choose whether to embrace pragmatism or cling to some sort of ideological rigidity put in place by twits. Rejoining the customs union is not a step backward, it's a step towards some sort of renewed prosperity that was not established because of Lord Frost's failure to read the small print, because of Lord Frost's belligerence, because of Theresa May's dithering, because of Boris Johnson's bellicosity, because Rishi Sunak had his hands tied by Liz Truss and by Suella Braverman. We need to restore the influence that we might have in an increasingly interconnected world, and we're not going to do that by standing alone. No man is an island, as John Donne rather famously said. We are part of the continent, and if we break away, the continent is the poorer for it. We need to recognise our responsibility to our neighbours.